Captain Li Juan stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Harmony's Edge, watching the stars stretch past the viewing screen. She had been exploring space for 15 years, but the silence between worlds still amazed her. Her crew of 42 humans had been traveling for 6 months, mapping new systems and looking for signs of life. The ship's computer made a soft beeping sound. Lieutenant Park Min-ho looked up from his science station, his dark eyes wide with surprise. "Captain, we're getting something strange," he said, adjusting his controls. "It's coming from the 4th planet in this system." Giwan walked over to his station. The screen showed waves of energy coming from a blue-green world below them. But these weren't normal radio signals or electromagnetic pulses. They moved in patterns that seemed almost musical. "What kind of signals are they?" she asked. "I've never seen anything like this before," Min-ho replied. "They're not random. There's a pattern here, like someone is trying to communicate, but the frequency is strange. It's not how humans would send messages." Engineer Kim Yuna joined them. At the station, she was the youngest member of the senior crew, but her skills with alien technology were already legendary among the exploration fleet. "Can you clean up the signal?" Juan asked her. Yuna's fingers moved quickly over the controls. The chaotic noise slowly became clearer. What emerged made everyone on the bridge go quiet. The sounds were beautiful, like crystal bells ringing in harmony. But underneath the beauty, there was something else, something that sounded like crying. "Captain," said Commander Choi Dae-ho from the communication station, "I think this is a distress call." Juan felt her heart beat faster. In all her years of exploration, she had never encountered intelligent alien life. Earth had been searching for other civilizations for centuries, and now they might have found one. "Are you sure?" she asked. "The pattern repeats every few minutes," Dae-ho explained. "And the tone is getting weaker. Whatever is sending this signal, it's running out of power or time." Dr. Song Ma-rae, the ship's chief medical officer, appeared on the bridge. She had been monitoring the signals from the medical bay, where her instruments could analyze them better. "Captain, there's something you need to know," she said, her voice serious. "These signals aren't just communication, they're life signs. Whoever is sending them, they're in pain." Juan looked at the planet on the screen. It looked peaceful from space, with blue oceans and white clouds. But now she knew that somewhere down there, intelligent beings were suffering. "Min-ho, what can you tell me about this planet?" she asked. The young scientist worked quickly. "It's about the same size as Earth. The atmosphere has oxygen, but it also has high levels of electromagnetic radiation. The magnetic field around the planet is very strong, much stronger than Earth's. Could we survive down there? With environmental suits? Yes. But Captain, the electromagnetic field is doing something strange. It's amplifying the signals we're receiving. Whatever is happening down there, the planet itself is making it worse." Yuna studied her readings. The signals are coming from several locations across the planet. This isn't just one group calling for help, it's happening everywhere. Made her decision, set course for the planet. But keep us at a safe distance. I want to know more before we get too close. As the ship moved closer to the planet, the signals became stronger. The beautiful crystal sounds now filled the bridge, but the sadness in them was unmistakable. It was like listening to a choir of angels who were slowly dying. Captain Min-ho said, his voice excited. "I'm getting visual contact." The main screen changed to show the planet's surface. What they saw took their breath away. Cities made of crystal rose from the ground like flowers. They were beautiful, but many of them were broken. Pieces of the crystal buildings lay scattered on the ground, and some of the tallest towers were crumbling. "My God," whispered Yuna. "What happened to them?" "The signals are coming from the crystal structures," Min-ho reported. "Captain, I think the buildings themselves are alive, or at least they're part of the beings who live here." Dr. Ma-rae was studying her medical readings. The life signs are getting weaker. "Whatever is happening to them, it's happening fast." "Can we communicate with them?" Giwan asked. Dae-ho worked on the communication systems. "I'm trying to match their frequency patterns. If I can create the same kind of harmonic signals they're using, maybe we can talk to them." It took him an hour, too, set up the equipment. When he finally sent a simple musical pattern toward the planet, the response was immediate. The crystal sounds from the surface became louder and more complex. It was clear that the beings below knew the humans were there. "They're trying to tell us something," Minho said, studying the patterns. "The signals are getting more organized. It's like they're teaching us their language." Over the next few hours, the crew worked together to understand the alien communication. Slowly, words began to form from the musical sounds. The beings called themselves the Villani, and they were indeed made of living crystal. The first clear message they received was heartbreaking. "We are dying," the crystal voices sang. "Our bodies turn to dust. Our cities fall. The song of our people grows quiet. We do not know why this happens to us." Dr. Murray ran more detailed scans of the planet. What she found made her face go pale. "Captain, they're telling the truth. I'm detecting massive biological breakdown across the entire planet. Their crystalline structure is dissolving at a cellular level. It's like their own bodies are attacking themselves. Is it a disease?" Giwan asked. "It's worse than a disease," Murray replied. "It's written into their genetic code. Their own evolution is killing them. Nature has programmed them to self-destruct." The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Villani weren't just sick. They were facing extinction, and there might be nothing anyone could do to help them. "How long do they have?" Juan asked quietly. Murray checked her readings again. At the current rate of decay, maybe a few weeks, a month at most, the crystal voices from the planet continued to sing their sad songs. Now the humans could understand. Some of the words, the Villani, were saying goodbye to their world, to their children, to their future. They had accepted their fate, but as Captain Li Giwan listened to their dying songs, she felt something that made her different from many other species in the galaxy. She felt compassion, and with that compassion came determination. "We're going to help them," she said. Her crew looked at her with surprise. They were explorers, not miracle workers. How could they save an entire civilization from their own genetics? Captain Deho said carefully, "We don't even know if it's possible." G1 looked at the crystal cities on the screen, imagining the beings who lived there. Somewhere in those beautiful structures, families were watching their loved ones crumble. Away children were losing their parents. Ancient knowledge was being lost forever. "Then we'll find out if it's possible," she said. "Send a message to the Villani. Tell them that the humans are here and we want to help." The crystal song from the planet changed when they received the message. For the first time since the humans had arrived, the sad music was joined by something else. Hope. Part 1 of their greatest challenge had begun. The next morning, Captain Li Guan called all senior officers to the main meeting room. The crystal songs from the planet below still filled the ship, now translated into words they could understand. The Villani were sharing their history, their culture, and their fears with the humans who had promised to help them. Commander Choi Deho spread his medical reports across the table. His face was tired from working all night, but his eyes were sharp with focus. "I've analyzed everything we know about the Villani condition," he began. "The situation is worse than we first thought. Their crystalline bodies are breaking down because of a genetic flaw that developed over millions of years of evolution." Dr. Song Murray nodded grimly. "Their ancestors survived by becoming harder and more crystal-like. It helped them live through ice ages and radiation storms. But now that same evolution is killing them. Their bodies are too rigid to adapt to changes in their environment." Engineer Kim Yuna pulled up a display showing the planet's electromagnetic field. The planet's magnetic field has been getting stronger over the past 1,000 years. It's creating frequencies that make their crystal bodies vibrate until they crack apart. They can't leave their planet because they're connected to it, but staying there is killing them. Lieutenant Park Min-ho had been studying Villani biology all night. "I think I understand how their bodies work," he said. "They're not just individuals. Each Villani is connected to their city, and their city is connected to the planet. When one dies, it weakens all the others." Captain Juan listened to each report. The more she learned, the more impossible the situation seemed. "Is there any way to help them?" Dr. Murray hesitated before answering. "There might be, but it would require something that has never been tried before." "What do you mean?" "Human genetic material has something the Villani lack. Our DNA is flexible. We can adapt to new environments because our genes can change. If we could somehow share that flexibility with them, their crystal bodies might learn to bend instead of break." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what she was suggesting. They would need to give part of their own genetic code to an alien species. Is that even possible? Asked Deho. I don't know, Mireille admitted, but our biosynthesis machines might be able to create a treatment. We could take samples from every crew member and combine them with Villani genetic material. The machine could create a new kind of gene therapy that might save them. Yuna leaned forward. What would that cost us? Everything, Mireille said quietly. We would need to use all of our biosynthesis reserves, every spare part, every backup system, every emergency supply. The machines would have to run for weeks without stopping. And if something goes wrong with our life support systems, well, we're doing this, Jiwan asked. We wouldn't have any way to fix it, Yuna answered. No spare parts, no biological materials, no backup systems. If the ship breaks down, we die. The weight of the decision settled over the room like a heavy blanket. They were light years from Earth, with no way to call for help. There's something else, Minho added. We don't know if the treatment will work. We're dealing with a completely different form of life. For all we know, our genetic material could make their condition worse. Or it could kill them faster, Deho said. G1 stood up and walked to the window. Below them, the crystal cities of the Villani sparkled in the sunlight, but she could see the cracks spreading through the beautiful structures. Somewhere down there, families were watching their loved ones slowly turn to dust. How many Villani are left? She asked. Our scans show about 2 million, Minho replied. But the number is dropping every day. And how many humans are on this ship? 42, Deho answered. Jiwan turned back to her crew. So we're talking about risking 42 lives to maybe save 2 million? Captain Yuna said carefully. We also need to think about our mission. If we die out here, Earth will lose this ship and all the information we've gathered. Our families will never know what happened to us. And if we succeed, Mireille added, we'll have made first contact with an alien species and saved them from extinction. That could change everything for humanity. The discussion continued for hours. They talked about duty, about risk, about the unknown consequences of their actions. Some crew members worried about their families on Earth. Others argued that saving the Villani was the right thing to do, regardless of the cost. Finally, Jiwan made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. We're going to vote, she announced. Every crew member gets a say. This isn't just about following orders. This is about choosing what kind of people we want to be. Captain Deho said, that's not how military command works. This isn't a military situation, Yuan replied. This is a moral choice. Everyone on this ship has to live with the consequences, so everyone gets to help make the decision. Over the next day, Juan met with every crew member individually. She explained the situation, the risks, and the potential outcomes. She answered their questions and listened to their concerns. Some were scared, some were excited. All of them understood that their decision would be remembered long after they were gone. The ship's cook, Bei Sung-ho, was one of the first to speak. Up, Captain. I've been thinking about this all night. If we were down there dying and some aliens found us, what would we want them to do? Navigator Oh Hyok had a different perspective. My daughter just started school back on Earth. If I die out here, she'll grow up without a father. Is saving aliens worth that? Pilot Nam Yemin spent hours listening to the Villani songs. They're not just aliens, Captain. They're people. They have children too. They're scared, and they're dying, and they're asking for help. Dr. Kong Yeji, the quantum physicist, looked at the problem from a scientific angle. We might learn more about genetics and evolution from this one experiment than we could from decades of research on Earth. As the voting time approached, the crystal songs from the planet grew weaker. The translation computers showed that the Villani were losing hope. They had asked for help, but they understood that the humans might not be able to save them. The vote was held in the main assembly hall. All 42 crew members gathered together, with the Villani songs playing softly in the background. Each person placed their decision in a sealed box. Captain Giwan counted the votes herself. The room was completely silent as she opened each piece of paper. The first vote was yes. The second was yes. The third was yes. As she continued counting, a pattern emerged. Some votes came with notes. For the children, one said. Because it's right, said another. Because this is why we came to space, read a third. When she finished counting, Giwan looked up at her crew with tears in her eyes. The vote is unanimous, she announced. 42 votes to help the Villani. The room erupted in cheers and applause. Even the crew members who had been most worried about the risks were smiling. They had made their choice together, and they would face the consequences together. Dr. Murray Guan said, "Prepare the biosynthesis machines." We have a species too. The sadness was still there, but it was joined by something else. Hope. The crystal beings had heard about the human decision, and they were singing songs of gratitude. The impossible choice had been made. Now came the impossible task of making it work. The next morning, the Harmony's Edge buzzed with activity like a hive of busy bees. Every crew member had a job to do, and everyone knew that failure meant death for both humans and Villani. Engineer Bei Sung-ho stood in the ship's medical bay. Looking at the massive biosynthesis machines that would need to be completely rebuilt, these machines normally made medicine and food for the crew. Now they would have to create something that had never existed before. "We need to turn this entire room into a treatment factory," he told his team of engineers. "The machines will run non-stop for weeks. If even one breaks down, we lose everything." Kim Yuna worked beside him, her hands covered in grease and her hair tied back in a messy knot. "The power requirements are huge," she said. "We'll have to redirect energy from the engines. That means we won't be able to leave orbit while the treatment is running. So we're trapped here until this works or kills us," Sung-ho said with a grim smile. "Pretty much," Yuna agreed. "But that's what we voted for." In the laboratory, Dr. Song My-rae was working on the most complex genetic puzzle anyone had ever attempted. She had samples of DNA from every crew member, and the Villani had agreed to provide samples of their crystalline genetic material. "The problem is that their genes are made of completely different materials than ours," she explained to her assistant, Dr. Kang Yeji. "Human DNA is carbon-based and flexible. Villani genetics are silicon-based and rigid. It's like trying to mix water and stone." Yaji studied the molecular structures on her screen. "What if we don't try to mix them directly? What if we create a bridge between them?" "What do you mean?" "Look at this." Yaji pointed to a pattern in the Villani genetic code. "Their genes have natural resonance frequencies. They vibrate at specific rates. If we can create human genetic material that vibrates at the same frequency, maybe the two types can communicate with each other." Murray's eyes lit up. "That's brilliant. We don't replace their genes. We teach them new songs." While the doctors worked on the genetic solution, Lieutenant Park Min-ho was studying the planet's electromagnetic field. The readings were getting worse every day. The magnetic field was growing stronger, and the deadly frequencies were spreading. "Captain," he reported to Gi-hwan, "the electromagnetic radiation is increasing faster than we expected. The Villani cities are crumbling more quickly now. We might only have days instead of weeks." Ji-won looked at the data with growing concern. "Can we do anything about the electromagnetic field?" "Dr. Yeji has an idea," Min-ho said. "She thinks we might be able to use the field to help instead of hurt." "How?" "Instead of fighting the electromagnetic waves, we could harmonize with them. The Villani communicate through crystal vibrations. If we can tune the planetary field to carry healing frequencies instead of destructive ones, the planet itself could help cure them." It was a crazy idea, but it was the kind of crazy that might just work. Ji-won gave permission for Yeji to try. On the planet's surface, the Villani watched the human ship with growing hope. They had never seen beings like these before. Most species in the galaxy were focused on their own survival. When faced with a choice between helping others and protecting themselves, they chose themselves. But the humans were different. They had voted to risk everything for strangers. The Villani elders sang songs of wonder about these strange creatures who chose compassion over logic. "They do not understand our ways," sang one elder. "They do not know our history, yet they offer their lives for ours." Perhaps, sang another, "This is what makes them special. They help, not because they understand, but because they care." Back on the ship, the crew worked around the clock. Sung-ho and his engineers had rebuilt the medical bay into something that looked like a science fiction movie. Cables ran across the ceiling, machines hummed with power, and computer screens showed genetic patterns that looked like abstract art. Dr. Murray had created the first batch of treatment. It was a golden liquid that sparkled like liquid starlight. When she showed it to Captain Ju-won, both women held their breath. "This is it," Murray said quietly. "This could save them, or it could kill them faster." "Have you tested it? On computer simulations?" "Yes, it should work." The human genetic flexibility should teach their crystal bodies how to bend instead of break. But we won't know for sure until we try it on a real Villani. Gaiwan nodded. Contact the planet. Ask for volunteers. The response from the Villani was immediate and overwhelming. Thousands of them volunteered to test the treatment. They understood the risks, but they also understood that doing nothing meant certain death. The first volunteer was an elderly Villani named Resonance. Her crystal body was already badly damaged, with cracks running through her arms and legs. If the treatment was going to work, it would need to work on someone who was already dying. The humans sent down a landing shuttle with the first dose of treatment. Commander Choi Daeho piloted the shuttle himself, knowing that this moment would be remembered forever. As the shuttle landed in the Crystal City, thousands of Villani gathered to watch. Their songs filled the air, a mixture of hope and fear and desperate longing. Her crystal body caught the sunlight and threw rainbows across the ground, but the cracks in her form were getting bigger with each step. "We are grateful," she sang to the humans. "Whether this heals us or ends us, we are grateful that someone cared enough to try." Daeho handed her the golden liquid. "This comes from all of us," he said. 42 humans gave part of themselves to create this. We hope it helps." The elderly Villani drank the treatment while her people watched in silence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her crystal body began to glow with a soft, warm light. The cracks in her arms started to close. The damaged parts of her legs began to heal. But more than that, her crystal form began to change. It became more flexible, more alive. She moved with a grace that the Villani had never seen before. "It works," she sang, her voice now carrying new harmonies. "I can feel the healing spreading through my body. The brittleness is going away. I am becoming something new." The other Villani began to sing with joy. The sound carried across the planet and up to the human ship, where the crew cheered and hugged each other, but their celebration was short-lived. Dr. Yeji's readings showed something unexpected happening. On the planet's surface, she reported urgently, "The electromagnetic field is changing. The treatment isn't just healing individual Villani, it's affecting the entire planet." On the surface, the crystal cities began to glow with the same warm light that had surrounded Resonance O deep waters. The buildings that had been crumbling started to repair themselves. The deadly frequencies that had been killing the Villani began to change into healing songs. "The planet is learning," Yeji said in amazement. "The electromagnetic field is copying the healing frequencies from the treatment. It's like the world itself is becoming compassionate." Navigator Oh Hyok monitored the changes from the ship's bridge. "The whole planet is singing now," he reported. "It's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard." The Villani on the surface were transforming as the healing frequencies spread. Their crystal bodies became more flexible and alive. They could bend without breaking, adapt without losing their essential nature. But the most amazing change was in their songs. The Villani had always communicated through crystal harmonies, but now their music carried something new. It carried the echo of human compassion, the warm feeling of being cared for by strangers who expected nothing in return. "We understand now," sang the Villani elders to the humans above. "You have shown us that there is more to existence than survival. There is kindness, there is love. There is the choice to help others even when it costs us everything." Captain Giwan stood on the bridge watching the transformed planet below. The crystal cities now glowed with inner light, and the songs that rose from them spoke of hope and healing and new possibilities. "We did it," she said quietly. "We actually did it." But even as she spoke, long-range sensors detected something troubling. Ships were approaching from deep space. Lots of ships, and they weren't coming to celebrate. The galaxy had noticed what the humans had done, and not everyone was happy about it. The alarm bells on the Harmony's edge began ringing just as the crew was celebrating their success. Captain Lee Juan rushed to the bridge, where Navigator Oh Hyok was staring at his screens with wide eyes. "Captain, we have a problem," he said. "The healing process is working too well." "What do you mean?" "Look at this," Hyok pointed to his readings. "The Villani aren't just healing, they're evolving, and it's happening fast." On the planet below, something extraordinary was taking place. The crystal cities were growing taller and more complex. The Villani themselves were changing in ways that nobody had expected. Their crystal bodies were becoming more flexible, but they were also developing new abilities. Dr. Song Murray ran scans from the medical bay. Captain, their genetic structure is completely different now. The human DNA didn't just heal them. It gave them the ability to adapt and change in real time. Is that dangerous? I don't know, Murray admitted. We've never seen anything like this before. Pilot Nam Yemin was monitoring the ship's hull when he noticed something strange. Captain, the ship is vibrating. It's very gentle, but it's getting stronger. Engineer Kim Yuna checked her readings. The Villani cities are producing new harmonics. The frequencies are so powerful they're reaching us in orbit. The crystal songs from the planet had changed completely. Instead of the sad, dying melodies they had heard before, the Villani were now singing songs of joy and discovery. But these new songs were affecting everything around them. The planet's electromagnetic field is synchronized with their music, reported Dr. Kang Yeji. Every Villani on the surface is connected to the planetary field. When they sing together, they can influence matter itself. Lieutenant Park Min-ho was amazed by what he was seeing. Captain, they're rebuilding their entire civilization. In just a few hours, they've repaired damage that took centuries to accumulate. But the most incredible change was happening to the Villani themselves. The beings who had once been rigid and brittle were now flowing like liquid crystal. They could change their shape, alter their density, and even share their consciousness with each other. Resonance of deep waters, the first Villani to receive the treatment, had become something beautiful and strange. Her crystal body could stretch and bend like rubber, but it was still made of living stone. When she sang, flowers made of crystal grew from the ground around her. We are becoming what we were meant to be, she sang to the humans above. Your gift has unlocked something that was sleeping in our genes for millions of years. The other Villani were transforming too. Some grew taller and more elegant. Others became more compact and efficient. All of them gained the ability to heal themselves and others through their harmonic frequencies. They're not just surviving now, observed Commander Choi Dae-ho. They're thriving. But the transformation was creating unexpected problems for the human ship. The powerful harmonics from the planet were interfering with the ship's systems. Equipment was malfunctioning, and the hull was developing stress fractures from the constant vibration. We need to move to a higher orbit, Yuna warned. If we stay here much longer, the ship could break apart. As they moved away from the planet, long-range sensors detected the approaching ships that had worried Captain Juan earlier. There were 12 vessels, all heavily armed, heading straight for the Villani system. Can you identify them? Juan asked. Hayok worked on the sensors. They're Zarathi ships. Captain, military class, they'll be here in 6 hours. Giwan felt her stomach drop. The Zarathi were known throughout the galaxy as enforcers of natural law. They believed that evolution should be allowed to take its course without interference. Species that were meant to die should be allowed to die. They're coming to stop what we've done, she realized. More than that, said Minho, who had been monitoring galactic communications. They're coming to eliminate both us and the Villani. They consider our intervention a crime against nature. The crew gathered in the meeting room to discuss their options. Outside the windows, the transformed planet glowed with beautiful light, and the Villani cities sang their songs of joy. It seemed impossible that anyone would want to destroy something so wonderful. We could run, suggested Dae-ho. Our ship is fast. We might be able to escape before they arrive, and leave the Villani to face them alone, Juan asked. After everything we've done to save them. Captain, we're explorers, not fighters, Yuna pointed out. Our ship has basic defensive systems, but we're not a warship. 12 Zarathi vessels could destroy us in minutes. Dr. Murray had been quiet during the discussion, but now she spoke up. There might be another option. The Villani have new abilities. Now, maybe they can defend themselves. You want to ask them to fight? Yemin asked. Not fight, Murray said, but they might be able to do something else. Their harmonic abilities are incredibly powerful now. Maybe they could disable the Zarathi ships without destroying them. Giwan considered this. The Villani had been transformed by human genetic material that emphasized adaptability and cooperation. Would they be willing to use their new abilities? As weapons, she decided to ask them directly. Opening a communication channel to the planet, She explained the situation to residents of Deepwaters and the other Villani leaders. "We understand," sang the elder. "The Zerathi believe in the old ways. They think that only the strong should survive. But you have shown us a different path." "We don't want you to become fighters," Guan said. "That's not what we gave you these abilities for." "We know," the Villani replied, "but we also know that there are other species in the galaxy who are suffering as we suffered. If the Zerathi destroy us, those species will never receive help." The Villani cities began to glow brighter as the entire population joined in a massive harmonic conference. They were making a decision together, their voices blending into one unified song. "We will not hide from the Zerathi," they finally announced, "but we will not fight them either. We will show them what we have become. We will show them the power of compassion." As the 6 hours passed, the Villani prepared for the arrival of the Zerathi fleet. But their preparations were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of building weapons or fortifications, they were composing music. Every Villani on the planet joined in creating a single, massive song. It was a song that told the story of their near extinction, their rescue by the humans, and their transformation into something new and beautiful. When the Zerathi ships finally arrived, they found something they had never expected. The planet below them was singing, and the song was so beautiful and powerful that it could be heard across space itself. The Zerathi commander tried to give the order to fire, but his crew was listening to the Villani song for the first time. In their lives, these warriors who believed only in strength were hearing music that spoke of love, sacrifice, and hope. "Fire on the planet," the commander ordered. But his weapons officer hesitated. "Commander, they're not fighting us. They're singing to us." "Fire," I said. The weapons officer looked at his controls, then back at his commander. "Sir, I can't. The song is telling us something important." Across the Zerathi fleet, the same thing was happening. The Villani song was reaching into the hearts of beings who had never believed in mercy, and showing them what compassion looked like. The transformation the humans had begun was spreading beyond the Villani, beyond their planet, and into the very souls of their enemies. The galaxy was about to learn that some forces are more powerful than weapons. The standoff in space lasted for 3 tense hours. The Zerathi fleet hung motionless above the singing planet, while their crews struggled with feelings they had never experienced before. The Villani song was doing something impossible. It was changing the hearts of warriors who had been trained since birth to show no mercy. Captain Li Guan watched from the bridge of the Harmony's edge. As confusion spread through the enemy fleet, some Zerathi ships were drifting aimlessly, their crews apparently unable to focus on their mission. Others were slowly backing away from the planet, as if the very presence of the transformed Villani was too much for them to handle. "Captain," reported Navigator Ohiok, "I'm receiving communications from other ships in the system, but they're not Zerathi." "Who are they?" "Unknown species, Captain. Lots of them." "It looks like word about what happened here has spread across the galaxy." Dr. Song Mai checked her sensors. "I'm counting at least 30 different ship types. Some of them are broadcasting distress signals." Lieutenant Park Minho was analyzing the incoming messages. "Captain, they're all asking for help. There's an aquatic species whose homeworld is dying from solar radiation, a group of rock-based beings whose planet is breaking apart from volcanic activity, dozens of others, all facing extinction." Captain Giwan felt overwhelmed. They had come to this system to explore and had ended up saving one dying species. Now it seemed like every endangered civilization in the galaxy had heard about the humans and was coming to ask for help. How did they find out so quickly, she wondered. "The Villani song," explained Dr. Kanyeji, "it's not just music anymore. It's carrying information across space. The story of what we did here is spreading faster than light through some kind of harmonic network." On the planet below, Resonance of Deepwaters was coordinating with Villani leaders across the globe. Their crystal cities had become massive communication arrays, broadcasting their transformation story to every corner of the galaxy. "We sing, not just for ourselves," she announced to the humans above. "We sing for all those who suffer as we suffered. We tell them that hope exists, that there are beings in the universe who choose compassion over convenience." The first non-Zerathi ship to approach was small and damaged. It belonged to the gentle tides, the aquatic species that Minho had mentioned. Their representative was a being made of flowing water and light, barely holding together in a mechanical suit. "Please," the being whispered over the communication channel. "Our star grows too bright, our oceans boil away. Our children cannot survive the heat." We heard the crystal song across the void. It spoke of healing. It spoke of hope. Engineer Kim Yuna studied their situation. "Captain, their problem is different from the Volani, but maybe we can help. They need protection from radiation. Our ship's shielding technology could be adapted to protect their entire planet. But that would mean using most of our remaining resources," warned Commander Choi Daeho. Before Captain Juwan could respond, another ship approached. This one belonged to the Stone Singers, whose planet was being torn apart by seismic activity. Their representative was a massive creature made of living rock, speaking in deep, rumbling tones. "The ground shakes beneath our feet," the Stone Singer said. "Our mountain homes crumble. Our songs are drowned out by the screams of a dying world. The crystal beings sang to us of humans who care for strangers. We come seeking aid." More ships arrived every hour. Each brought a new species facing extinction, and each had heard the Volani song carrying news of human compassion across the stars. Pilot Nam Yemen was tracking all the new arrivals. "Captain, we have over 60 ships in the system now. Some of them are having conflicts with each other. Not everyone out there is friendly." Indeed, the gathering was becoming chaotic. Some species were natural enemies who had been fighting for centuries. Others were competing for the humans' attention. A few were demanding immediate help and threatening violence. If they didn't get it, the situation was getting dangerous when something unexpected happened. The Zerathi commander, who had been silent since arriving, finally spoke. "Humans," his voice crackled over the communication system. "I request permission to speak with your captain." Giwan was surprised but agreed to the conversation. The Zerathi appeared on her screen as a tall, angular being with metallic skin and cold, calculating eyes. But something in his expression had changed. "I am Commander Zex Dowler of the Zerothi Enforcement Fleet," he said formally. "I came here to destroy you and the Volani for interfering with natural selection." "And now?" Jiwan asked. The commander was quiet for a moment. "Now I find myself questioning everything I have believed for my entire life. The song from the planet below speaks of concepts that we Zerathi have never understood. Sacrifice for others, kindness without reward, love for beings we have never met. What are you saying?" "I am saying that perhaps the Zerathi way is not the only way. Perhaps strength is not just about surviving. Perhaps it is also about helping others survive." This declaration caused immediate chaos in the Zerathi fleet. Some ships broke formation and warped away, their crews unwilling to accept such radical thinking. Others remained, their crews apparently struggling with the same questions as their commander. "The crystal song has changed us," Commander Zexdollar continued. "My warriors no longer wish to fight. They wish to understand. Will you teach us about this thing you call compassion?" Before Jiwan could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the system. Long-range sensors had detected a massive fleet approaching. From the galactic core, these ships were different from anything they had seen before. Bigger, more advanced, and moving with obvious hostile intent. "Captain Hayok," reported urgently, "I'm reading over 200 ships. They're from the Dominion." Council Giwan felt her blood turn cold. The Dominion Council was a coalition of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. They ruled through fear and force, and they did not tolerate interference with their vision of galactic order. "They're not coming to ask for help," she realized. "They're coming to stop us." Dr. Murray was analyzing the approaching fleet. "Captain, those ships have enough firepower to destroy this entire system. If they think we're a threat to galactic stability, they'll eliminate everyone here." The transformed Volani had sensed the approaching danger. Their songs changed from joy to determination as they prepared to face their greatest challenge yet. "Not fear," sang resonance of deep waters to all the ships in the system. "We have learned that compassion is not weakness. We have learned that love can be stronger than hate. If the Dominion wishes to test this truth, we will show them." All around the system, the various species began to make their own choices. Some fled in terror. Others stayed to see what would happen. A few, inspired by the Volani example and the human sacrifice, began working together despite their historical differences. The aquatic gentle tides offered to share their water purification technology with species that needed it. The rocky stone singers provided shelter for smaller, more fragile beings. Even some of the Zerathi ships began coordinating with former enemies. "Look at this," whispered Yemen in amazement. "They're all helping each other. The whole system is becoming a cooperative." Captain Giwan realized that something much bigger than saving the Villani was acting. The act of human compassion had started a chain reaction that was spreading across the galaxy. Species that had never trusted each other were now working together. Ancient enemies were setting aside their hatred to face a common threat. But would it be enough to stand against the most powerful military force in the galaxy? As the Dominion fleet drew closer, the answer to that question was about to be tested in the most dramatic way possible. The Dominion Council fleet arrived like a dark storm cloud against the stars. 200 massive warships arranged themselves in perfect formation around the Villani system, their weapons charged and ready to fire. These were not explorers or traders, but the enforcement arm of galactic civilization's most powerful rulers. Captain Li Juan stood on the bridge of the Harmony's edge, looking at the overwhelming display of force surrounding them. Her small exploration ship was dwarfed by vessels that could destroy entire planets. "They want all humans Villani, and anyone who helped us to be handed over for judgment." "What are the charges?" Giwan asked, though she suspected she already knew. "Disruption of natural order, unauthorized genetic manipulation, and inciting rebellion against established galactic law." Lieutenant Park Minho was monitoring communications across the system. "Captain, the other species are getting scared. Some of them are already leaving." Indeed, many of the ships that had come seeking help were now fleeing the system as fast as their engines could carry them. The sight of the Dominion fleet was enough to terrify most civilizations into submission. But not everyone was running. The transformed Villani continued to sing their songs of hope from the planet below. Commander Zextalor and his remaining Zerathi ships held their position, despite having every reason to side with the Dominion, and scattered throughout the system, called the Final Word. Its commander was Supreme Admiral Vexcurin, a being whose species had conquered dozens of worlds and ruled them through fear. "Humans," his voice boomed across all communication channels, "and cooperation." Captain Juan knew this moment would define not just her crew's fate, but possibly the future of the galaxy itself. She could surrender and hope for mercy. "We shared our own genetic material to save their lives. If that's a crime, then we're guilty. But we're not sorry for what we did." "Your actions have destabilized the natural order," the Admiral replied. "Already, we have reports of species across the galaxy refusing to accept their fates. The weak are expecting the strong to sacrifice for them. This chaos cannot be allowed to continue." "It's not chaos," Guan said firmly. "It's hope." What happened next surprised everyone in the system. Instead of ordering an immediate attack, Admiral Vexcurin did something unprecedented. He asked a question. "Hope for what, human? Hope that the strong will endlessly sacrifice for the weak? That is not how the universe works." Before Juwan could answer, the Villani song from the planet below changed. They were sharing their memories, their experiences. Network that now connected much of the galaxy. Every being with the ability to receive their transmissions suddenly experienced what the Villani had experienced. They felt the terror of watching their bodies crumble, the despair of accepting inevitable extinction, and finally, the joy of transformation and new possibilities. We show you not just what we were saying the Villani, but what we became when compassion touched our lives. We show you that strength is not just about surviving alone, but about helping others survive together. The effect on the Dominion fleet was immediate and dramatic. Everything they had been taught. "Admiral," came a voice from one of the Dominion ships, "we felt what the crystal beings felt. We experienced their pain and their healing. How can we destroy something so beautiful?" Admiral Vexcuron's response was swift and harsh. "You will follow orders or face execution for mutiny." The Dominion does not tolerate weakness or sentiment, but his threats no longer carried the same power. The Villani song had planted seeds of doubt in minds that had never questioned authority before. Dr. Song Murray was monitoring the biological effects of the Villani broadcast. "Captain, the harmonic frequencies are causing actual changes in brain chemistry." "Is that what happened to us?" asked Commander Choi Dae-ho. "No," Murray replied. "Humans already had the capacity for compassion. The Villani song just helps other species discover what we've had all along. As the standoff continued, more ships began arriving in the system. But these weren't military vessels or refugees seeking help. They were representatives from civilizations across the galaxy who had heard the Villani song and wanted to witness what was happening. Captain reported pilot Nam Yemen, "I'm counting ships from over 100 different species. They're not taking sides, just watching." The galaxy was holding its breath, waiting to see whether compassion or force would win this confrontation. Admiral Vexcurin realized that his position was becoming untenable. The watching civilizations would spread word of whatever happened here across the entire galaxy. If he backed down, the Dominion's authority would be questioned everywhere. He chose a third option. Leave this system immediately and never interfere with galactic affairs again, and we will allow you and your ship to return safely to your home world and the Villani, Juan asked. Will be destroyed as an example to others who might consider similar transformations. The bridge of the Harmony's edge fell silent. After everything they had done, all the risks they had taken, they were being asked to abandon the people they had saved. But before Captain Giwan could respond, something extraordinary happened. The other ships in the system began moving, not fleeing. Admiral, the Zarathi will not permit the destruction of the Villani. They have shown us a better way. The aquatic, gentle tides added their small but determined voice. We stand with those who choose compassion over cruelty. One by one, dozens of species that had never agreed on anything before declared their intention to protect the transformed Villani. Even some ships from the Dominion fleet began breaking formation, their crews unwilling to fire on beings who had shown them what love looked like. Admiral Vexcurin found himself facing not just a small human exploration ship, but a coalition of dozens of species united by a shared experience of compassion. "This is impossible," he said, more to himself than to anyone else. "No," Captain Juan replied. "This is what happens when people choose hope over fear, love over hate, compassion over convenience. This is what happens when we decide that every life has value." The standoff lasted for 3 more days. During that time, the Villani continued to sing their songs of transformation and hope. More ships arrived daily. Admiral Vexcurin made an announcement that shocked everyone, including his own fleet. "We will withdraw our forces and return to our territories." "Admiral," came an urgent voice from his flagship, "our orders were clear. We cannot show weakness." "Perhaps," the Admiral replied, "it is time for the Dominion to learn the difference between strength and stubbornness." As the massive fleet began to withdraw, something historic happened. Representatives from over 200 species gathered in the Villani system to establish what they called the Compassion Accords. These were not traditional treaties based on territorial boundaries or trade agreements. Species would share technology, resources, and knowledge, not for profit, but because it was the right thing to do. Their new harmonic abilities became the communication network that held this new alliance together. Their songs carried messages, emotions, and ideas across vast distances. Human ambassador to the Galactic Compassion Alliance, her small exploration ship had become the symbol of a new way of thinking that was spreading across the stars. Captain Dr. Marai said as they prepared to return to Earth with news of what had happened, "We came out here to explore. Instead, we've changed the entire galaxy." Jiwan looked out at the transformed Villani planet, where crystal cities now sang lullabies that could heal the hearts of bitter enemies. Around them, ships from 100 worlds worked together on projects that would have been impossible just weeks before. "Maybe that's what exploration really means," she said. "Not just discovering new worlds, but discovering new ways to be human." Her final log entry would be studied for generations to come. "Today, we learned that nature may cast aside the weak, but humans choose to catch them. We choose to heal them. We choose to help them become something beautiful and strong. This choice, this compassion, may be humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy. It is not just what makes us human, it is what makes us worthy of the stars." The Harmony's Edge set course for Earth, carrying news that would transform human civilization's place in the galaxy. Behind them, the Villani sang songs of gratitude that would echo across the cosmos for centuries, reminding all who heard them that compassion is not weakness, but the strongest force in the universe. Nature had cast aside the Villani, but humans had chosen compassion. And that choice had changed everything.